Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to
I'm
the
ready.
party, pal. How's it going?
Woo! Sorry, I just yelled too loud. It's going good. I just
Good.
woke up like an hour ago. So
That's
getting there.
nice. I wish I could do that.
Oh, we do.
Hello, everyone watching, and by that I mean mom and dad now.
Dad, apparently.
Dad watched it once, so
Finally.
took him on 2 times. He finally did. He caved. This is Welcome to the Party, Pal, a podcast by us, the Loomer Brothers,
Okay.
Preston Loomer and Nathan Loomer.
Mhm.
Those you didn't hear. And this is Welcome to the Party, Pal, where we talk about movies that we think are cool.
Yeah, and this week we watched 4 mockumentary movies.
Mockumentaries. For those of you who don't know, a mockumentary is a documentary, but not really. Like a documentary, but they made it up.
Yeah, it's very out there. Like it's weird to say. It's like sometimes less realistic than a normal movie.
It's an interesting genre. It's like
Yeah.
a weird hybrid, and I think I learned from this whole thing that if you do it well, it's great. If you do it terribly, it's not.
It's not.
So the movies that we watched, we each picked 2. I picked Best in Show and Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stoppin'. And tell them what movies you picked.
I picked. I picked What We Do in the Shadows and comic book movie.
That's the one, yeah.
Okay.
I know we kind of picked them together, but officially, I think if you were to split it, that's how we picked them.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know which one we should start with.
You probably start with the best one, which
is Best in
I don't know
Show.
if we agree on.
I think it's Best in Show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's What We Do in the Shadows for me.
What?
Okay.
Oh no, we have to fight now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Fight.
Hold on. We're gonna solve this right now. Let me grab my handy dandy tie breaking device.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
All right, I got this. There we go.
Is it a coin?
I got this Two-Face coin from when I was way too into The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on. Okay.
Heads or tails?
Heads. Heads. Give me it.
It's tails. We're talking about Best in Show.
No, it won. It's the funnier movie.
I won. The coin betrays you.
Okay, fine. If
it was Two-Face, you'd be dead now. So.
Yeah.
Best in Show is a mockumentary by Christopher Guest, who is most famous probably for doing This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Waiting
for Guffman, A Mighty Wind. But this is his best one.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think this is the pinnacle of just mockumentary style Christopher Guest movies.
Yeah.
It's about a bunch of people who are entered in like the National Dog Show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to meet all of them and their dogs, and it's a whole thing.
And it's probably the most realistic out of all the mockumentaries, because the one time I went to a dog show, those people were the weirdest or the meanest people I ever met.
Oh my gosh. We watched some video on YouTube about a month and a half ago where they talked about all the dog breeds that are accepted at the Westminster Dog Show.
Yeah.
And it was the most pretentious hour-long conversation I've ever seen. I was just like, oh my gosh. And so then when I watched the movie,
yeah,
I was like, this is it. These people are those people. And our family had a tradition of watching the dog show because it was after the Thanksgiving Day parade. So we always watched it.
Now I feel a little bad about it.
And now I mean, for example, my dog, who is adorable, isn't even allowed in the dang thing because he's not a purebred. Which I was like, if you did that with people, you'd get called some sort of eugenics asshole.
Yeah.
Don't purebred things. It messes them up.
I think it's so great though the idea of purebreds, because technically all the dogs we have now that are purebreds were dogs that were domestically made that way so you could keep them.
Yeah, they're inbred.
They're inbred. Which is
inbred is purebred. They're the same. There's no difference.
There's no difference.
But essentially the way it works is you meet, I think it's 5 different groups of people who are all entered in this dog show. the ones that probably played the most prominently are Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, who, if you've ever seen Schitt's Creek, play Moira and Johnny Rose on that, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Eugene
I learned that
is my favorite in this movie.
Eugene Levy with his literal 2 left feet.
I said that is probably the funniest joke, like, out of all the mockumentaries we watched. It still makes me laugh for some reason.
No, I think you're right. Eugene Levy's
It's getting better.
I don't think it's my favorite, because I think my favorite joke is when Fred Willard, as the commentator, turns to the guy and is like, "How much do you think I can bench press?" Like, that's my number one. First off, rest in peace, Fred Willard, who died earlier this year. Like,
he is amazing.
I think he's the funniest character in this whole thing. And
I couldn't believe he was on Space Force when I watched.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen all of Space Force yet. I've only seen like half of the first episode.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is I was watching them do the commentary, and I kept thinking of Cotton and Pepper from Dodgeball. And I was like, this is how they should have done Dodgeball.
Oh.
Like, I love that movie, but I'm like, they should have done it like a Christopher Guest mockumentary with all the teams being introduced.
Yeah.
Kind of like how he did Mascots. I don't know if you've seen that one. No, I think Fred Willard's probably my favorite character. And I think that the commentary tracks add so much to those like dog show things, because they just make fun of how pretentious those people sound. And especially because they have the other guy who's like the dog show expert. And then the guy who's like, I don't know anything about this. I'm here because I'm a celebrity.
Yeah. I do wish that I don't know. It's a lot about the people. I wish they got more into like dog stuff. I know they kind of do, but I wish there was moments where you realize these dogs don't want to be here or something.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job with that with the what's her name? The gray.
Yeah, that's the one.
Like the whole thing of like them freaking out over her stupid bumblebee toy, and I think that's really good. But yeah, I think there should have been more on the dogs. And I love the pug at the end who's humping the psychiatrist's leg. I was like, how do you train a dog to hump? And then to make that face with the tongue out and the big eyes, just like.
I want to see the dog casting for that. I'm sure they went through like a bunch of like
I looked it up. Those are all actual championship winning club dogs. Yeah,
that's amazing.
So those are all actual dogs who've won a dog show on like a high level. Most of them are Canadian because most of it's filmed in Canada, but not all of it. Fun fact about Christopher Guest: he's a baron.
He's a baron?
like a British baron.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like the fifth Baron Hayden Guest, and his wife is Jamie Lee Curtis.
No idea. I had no idea.
Yep. Now you've learned some fun facts.
My God.
He's also the six-fingered man in The Princess Bride, and I'm like, he's lucky they did that before he did any of this, because I don't think that would have ever happened.
Yeah, this is
cast in the reverse way.
Oh yeah. I don't know, the cast. This is the first time I knew of Jane Lynch. I know people like immediately like, oh, I love her on Glee. I'm like, isn't the girl from Best in Show?
She's in a lot of stuff.
She's in a lot of things. This is the first one I remember.
She's good in this. Yeah, she's fantastic. I think she was in a thing in the 90s in a much more like serious role, but
okay.
I love Jane Lynch. I love Jennifer Coolidge as her partner.
Yeah.
I love Christopher Guest is the nut monologue, which I'm sure he stole from the shrimp monologue in Forrest Gump, but oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, do that monologue at an audition. See how far you get.
Yeah.
This is the nut speech from Best in Show. Cashew nut, walnut, peanut, macadamia nut. That's a good one, macadamia. It's so funny.
And I do think this is better than this is Spinal Tap, just because even though people count that as like the holy grail of mockumentary movies, it's not looking back at that movie, it's not as like relatable. Like, I don't know. Yeah. A lot of the jokes are like, you have to be in that culture. You have to.
Yeah, and Spinal Tap's one that got funnier the more I like knew about rock and roll. Yeah. And knew about those kind of things. But the one thing that I think makes this work really well is it's improvised almost entirely. Yeah. They basically wrote like a 20-page outline of the plot, and then just everybody just improv'd the whole the whole thing.
So good.
So they made up all the dialogue, which I think makes it feel more natural, makes it feel like these are real people rather than in commentary. They said that the only time that they had to extend shooting was when Fred Willard was on set to do the commentary because they kept breaking the crew.
Oh God.
So speaking of dogs,
dog
cameos every time. All right. So speaking of dogs, though, this has made me ask a question. What is your favorite dog group at the dog show?
At the dog show, I used to say Cocker Spaniels, but ever since we have one,
nope.
I just see them as like vicious little monsters,
little assholes.
So, okay, it's not even a group. It's that bulldog that won this year.
Oh, I don't know. So it's a bulldog, so the non-sporting.
It's the most amazing thing. He's
I'll have to look it up.
Little bulldog.
I haven't seen it. I like hounds. Yeah. I like bloodhounds and beagles and basset hounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think when basset hounds, if you've never watched a slow motion video of a basset hound running, it's the funniest thing.
Oh gosh!
Just this big, the jowls are down to here, and it's just like flopping. And Doty's a half hound, so he's a hound pug.
He's a little thing. He's a little hound.
Yeah, but I think that the humor has this way where it's like it's both really subtle, but then like side-splittingly funny.
Yeah.
And I think the secret to a good mockumentary, which this proved, is you just have to cast it really well.
Yeah.
Like good improv, good casting, and just like going all the way out and letting it just happen makes these things work. That's why I like Best in Show. I don't know if I've got anything else to say about it. That's probably it.
I don't really know either. That's about. Sorry, I didn't say much because it's just go watch it.
It's like so funny. If you like dogs, if you like laughing, if you hate people who love dogs too much, this is your movie.
People who don't treat their dogs like dogs.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. And
do we want to talk about the second best movie, or do we want to talk about the worst movie? I wonder if we agree about that.
Okay, so let's do worst. Mine was comic book.
Yeah, it's comic book.
It's comic book the movie. Okay, we're gonna jump to comic book the movie. Comic book the movie is a mockumentary by Mark Hamill. Yes, that Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself. Yeah. Mark Hamill. He wrote.
Best known for Luke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrote, directed.
Best known for Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star. That's known for being just the hero of everybody's childhood.
Yeah.
And then the villain of everybody's childhood when he started doing voiceover. He wrote, directed, and starred in it. It's a movie about a guy named Donald Swan who's going to a Comic-Con to stop a movie production company from remaking a superhero who is definitely not a ripoff of Captain America in any way, called Commander Courage.
Oh gosh.
I think this came out in 2004.
Yeah, 2004. Yeah.
And the trick is he used a lot of voice actors in the roles. So a lot of the people, like, you've probably heard them and stuff. But I was like, that's actually not a bad trick of getting a bunch of people that you definitely know are big profile names and can act, but aren't people you recognize. Yeah. Because like Billy West's been in a whole bunch of stuff, but you wouldn't realize that the red M&M is sitting there on the screen for 20 minutes.
And SpongeBob, he's in this. People know Tom Kenny.
In this. Pooh Bear.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Pooh Bear.
Two of the Animaniacs are in this.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of, and there's a whole bunch of cameos of like actual celebrities because they filmed it at Comic-Con.
Which is that's probably the best part of it.
Yeah. Like the Comic-Con stuff's really good. The thing that I think with this one is it feels scripted.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as natural as the other ones do. It feels like they're trying to set up these, like, this is a real moment, but it feels too forced. And especially the stuff with the production. Oh, no, accidental Star Wars pun.
Mark Hamill pun.
God, I need like an accidental Star Wars pun noise that we can play.
Just the entire Darth Vader march.
That's getting into bad morning radio show territory. Like the stuff with the production company and the boss lady are probably the parts that I'm just like, ugh, stop.
I forgot that was in the movie, and like the first like half an hour, like, okay, just get to Comic-Con. Like, I don't know.
half of my notes on this were just like, oh, so and so's in this movie. Oh, so and so's in this movie.
I didn't know them back then, but I know them now. And
Yeah. My favorite is definitely Ricky, played by Jess Harnell, who, if you don't know, is Wacko Warner from the Animaniacs and Ironhide in the Transformers universe. Hit that scene. I think my absolute favorite scene is when he does that impression of all the Beatles in like 3 seconds.
I know. That's
and they're like, that's a cool thing. He's like, yeah, pick up chicks with it, bro. And then the whole thing.
Mark Hamill is pretty good in this, though.
Mark Hamill's a better actor than he is a director. I'll give him that.
Yes.
Like, I'll say that he's not bad. This is an interesting thing because remember when I watched the movie the first time, I thought it was much better than it is, probably because I was younger.
Yeah.
But also,
Same.
There's this weird irony that has happened now after all of the sequels from Star Wars came out, where Mark Hamill's character is all those people who hate new Star Wars because it's not old Star Wars. I was like, oh my gosh, he's toxic fandom, like in a nutshell. And the movie lets him win. And I was like, no, it's not. No.
We know now.
He just bankrupted a $200 million movie with speaking at Comic-Con. And then they hire him. Like, who would hire that guy?
Jeez. Oh, God. Which is really funny because I think now he's a little jaded about Star Wars. So I wonder if this movie would be different. Now, like, you've seen interviews where he's like...
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Mark Hamill probably has some of that. He is an old school comic fan. He's an old school kind of that era fan. So I think he probably likes a lot of stuff. But I don't know if it works in the same way. It has some cool cameos. It has Stan Lee in it talking about the history of Commander Courage, which I was like, how did they get him to do that?
So great.
It's probably the second most prominent Stan Lee role next to his role in Mallrats.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was watching. I'm like, we keep watching Stan Lee stuff.
Stan Lee's in this a bunch. Kevin Smith is in this a ton. This is actually a really funny thing because Kevin Smith talks a lot on his own stuff. He's got podcasts and his shows and things. And the dialogue they wrote for him doesn't sound like Kevin Smith talking.
No.
I was like, I know Kevin Smith's voice.
I was gonna say, I feel like he got, like, I know he can do a pretty good job, and they did not give him anything. And so the time I'm like, oh, I feel bad for him. He's just talking. I was
like, it doesn't have that quick off the cuff Kevin Smith like bloviating where he's like exploding and being excited and like the way that he talks in real life. There's some fun cameos of like stuff though. Oh, good. Some guy on a motorcycle is just flying past. This motorcycle lives down the street that does that. Scares my dog half to death.
Oh gosh.
There's a fun cameo where Billy West is standing next to a Philip Fry poster from Futurama. And I was like, that's good. And then there's one where Mark Hamill's talking about, I think it's one of the villains of Commander Courage, who looks just like the trickster costume that he wore on The Flash in the 90s.
Oh my gosh.
Mark Hamill is the trickster in both the old Flash TV show and the current Flash TV show and the cartoons.
So good.
Like, he's the trickster.
Bring him in, make him fight Batman and the new Batman as the trickster.
Yeah, that's it. Mark Hamill's great. He was on the TV show spinoff of one of the other movies we watched.
Yeah. Doing that.
And then he played himself. Did you see him as himself at one point?
Yeah.
I was like, is that Mark Hamill sitting in a booth signing things? He filmed himself as himself and as this other dude.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think it's not like, it's a solid C+ movie. Like, I don't hate it.
It's just not funny. Like, that's the bad thing to say.
Yeah. It has
it's a lot. Ooh, that's cool, but not funny.
Yeah. And it's like, if it's like we said about Spinal Tap, like, you have to know comic books and Comic-Con to get this movie. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah.
All the noises in the back of my house.
Happen.
I do love the extended scene where they make Bruce Campbell try to put on the mask and like get into the character.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when I was watching. I was like, I hope Bruce Campbell's in Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
That's probably when Sam Raimi took over that movie, it went from my like least anticipated Marvel sequel to the one that I want to see the most now.
Yes, exactly. And Bruce Campbell is the Jim. He needed to be in more things. He needs to be in more things.
God, we need to do My Name is Bruce again.
again. There's Bruce 2.
No, I mean we need to just watch it again for like
watch
this.
it again. Oh
not
God.
Not with the drinking game that we
Not
did
with the
last
drinking
time.
game. And okay, when we say drinking game, we don't mean alcohol. We did
did it
Mountain Dew
at
which
3 a.m, so
was
nobody
worse.
slept.
It was way worse.
It was so bad.
It hurt.
Well, I love that they put the what was it? One of them was the name of the creature he fights, and it's in a song at the beginning like a dozen times.
Like 12 times. You're like, oh God. And it pops up like 4 times. You're like, oh, I gotta do it again.
Let's keep drinking. I'm gonna keep drinking.
Yikes. Oh, God.
No, but like I said, and then it just the stuff that says about toxic fandom, which I think is like a real problem. I think Gamergate, toxic fans of like stuff. That's what I said is the problem with Star Wars fans is Star Wars fans want new Star Wars, but they don't want new Star Wars. They want Star Wars that is the same as the old Star Wars again.
Yeah. That's all you want.
Yeah. They don't want a Last Jedi, which I'm sure we'll get to some point. I'm not going to poke that bear right now.
All 9 Star Wars. That's just
yeah, all 11 Star Wars.
11. Sorry. Oh,
because there's the two non-trilogies.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have anything else about comic book? No, that was it.
Not much.
It's. I mean, it's got some moments. It's got a good. Like, there's moments where you laugh pretty good at it, but
yeah,
it's not. If you're gonna watch any of these, it's the one you're gonna like walk away from not remembering, probably the most.
Super much.
Yeah. All right. You want to do the better one or the middle of the pack one?
But we could do the better one.
Okay, we'll do
what we do in the shadows.
What we do in the shadows. I mean, it's an okay. So this is What We Do in the Shadows, made by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. Filmed in New Zealand. It's a mockumentary about vampires living in New Zealand and their everyday lives.
Yes.
And I will say, like, Best in Show is my favorite, but this one's like right below it. Like, it's 1 and 2.
Right there.
They're real close.
I just think this one doesn't stop like making jokes. It doesn't stop like trying to be like, okay, we're gonna have even if this isn't a joke, it's a setup for a joke. The Beast joke is my like favorite.
Oh, the Beast
thing. It's just I don't even want to spoil that.
No, I won't. We won't spoil the Beast joke. Basically, one of the vampires had this run-in with this character called the Beast, and the reveal of the Beast is the best because they build it up the whole movie, and once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's way better than what it could have been.
Yeah, what I even imagine.
This is the first time I've seen it since I watched the show, so I haven't actually. Which I think the show is better.
The show is better. Yeah.
I agree. There's a spin-off on FX right now. It's got 2 seasons. It's going to have a 3rd season based on this movie. Watch the movie, then go watch the show because you need to know the stuff that happens in the movie is kind of in the show. So you need to know it, but like it's oh my gosh, it's so funny. There's so much in this movie that's so funny. I want to say I was thinking about I was like I wonder if they said it in New Zealand because Taika can't kick his New Zealand accent.
Yeah.
Like his Transylvanian New Zealand accent. It was the same when he was Hitler in Jojo Rabbit. It's like he's still not quite German enough.
Yeah, he still got it. I love the star of this movie for me, Stu, who's just the human.
Stu the human is the best, and it's just I love how everyone's cool with Stu. Like the werewolves are cool with Stu. Most of the zombies are cool with Stu. It's
yeah.
It's like almost everybody in the movie is like, oh yeah, we just got a human who hangs around, but he's really cool, so we don't need him.
He is though, but I get where they got the idea for the energy vampire when he starts talking about like how his job is just like a computer technician.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, the energy vampire in that. Fun fact about the show though, the show was originally planned as a direct spinoff with like the same characters, but Taika didn't want to have to shave to play Viego because he ain't shaving. So they were like, let's get new people and I'll show up maybe once in a blue moon.
Which is good.
I think my favorite's Vlad, but I think it's just because I love Jermaine Clement. I think he's just freaking hysterical.
He's so funny.
I saw a guy got a tattoo of the Vlad cat, which with his face.
Oh gosh,
This is the ugliest thing ever.
That's so bad.
I know.
Basically, one of the vampires can't, like, he lost like the ability to transform well, and so everything he transforms to has like his face. At one point, he turns into a cat, and it's like a cat just like his
With
head.
his face.
It's not okay.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Stuff. There's the 8,000-year-old vampire Peter, who has the most normal name.
Looks like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I wish they'd done one more. I know they have Nick, but I wish they'd had another kind of modern vampire.
Yeah.
Because like the second oldest is like Deacon is like 200 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they had a guy from like the 70s.
Yeah.
Who has like a disco-y, like jive sort of vibe to him.
Yeah. They haven't really done that in the new series either, which is weird.
They haven't.
They're all either 100 or like brand new.
Yeah.
Which is
And Nick's weird. The worst. So I just like the whole time I'm like, why do they keep letting this guy come back?
Yeah.
He gets
I can't understand him. He has the strongest New Zealand accent. I think most of the movie.
He does. Too. He's actually how I learned how to do a New Zealand accent was watching him in this movie because it is very strong.
Yeah. No,
the thing too that I think they do the same as they did in Best in Show. The comic stuff is just so natural. I think it's because New Zealand just kind of has that low key humor anyway.
Yeah.
But like the bit about, you know, they have to be invited into places and they're all standing around like, can we go in? And they're like, what do you mean? Can we go in? Can we go, please?
Yeah.
Which they do a really solid job of in the show with Nadja at one point, like trying to walk into a garage and she's just like, I can't break the barrier.
Which is, it's better to me. Have you ever watched, Let the Right Ones In?
No.
So
no,
the thing in that one is when they go in, like they start dying if they don't get invited in. But it's so much funnier to be like, no, you just can't. It's like that's physically impossible.
They did that in Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Angel and Spike at one point, where Buffy's like in trouble and they try to save her, and neither of them's been invited in the house, and they both just like smash into a wall of like a force field and get knocked over.
That's so great, actually.
There's a part of me that wishes the movie was a little scarier. Like, I think it doesn't quite. It has horror elements and it plays them comedically, but I think there could have been more moments of genuine. I think the only one is really when Peter comes at Nick. It's probably the only time that I actually was like, "Whoa, that was out of nowhere." I jumped.
That, and when the actual cameraman gets killed by the werewolves.
By the werewolves, yeah.
Yeah.
Werewolves, not werewolves.
Werewolves. I don't know why I thought the noodles turned into worms, and they don't clearly.
No, it's just an illusion.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, that's just noodles.
It also does a good job of showing you that, like, taking, like, blood and gore and making it's usually gross, but if you do it too much, it's fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Where you take it to just, like, that level beyond. There's a bad Mel Brooks movie called Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is a parody of the Gary Oldman Dracula movie. And it has this one, it's just not good. It's like Mel Brooks' worst movie. But it has this one scene where they open up this coffin and this blood sprays out, and they didn't tell the actor ahead of time how much blood was going to hit him. And you just watch this like fountain gushes out.
Yeah.
It's great. I think it'd be cool if they did a prequel set in like the like mid 20th century in like the 50s, 70s era.
Yeah. Really great.
There's so much about it that's good.
There's a lot. It's probably the movie when I make jokes. This is one of the movies like in my top 3 that I quote the most.
Oh yeah.
Which is really funny because none of them, it doesn't make sense most of the time, but it's worth it.
It's so good. And like I said, it led to the TV show, which just added so much to it. It just built on the stuff that this one did.
Yeah.
The one downside of this whole movie is that there are no real good female characters.
Yeah.
Jackie the Familiar is like the biggest one, but she's not. They actually, I watched a behind the scenes on the making of the show, and the gal who plays Nadja was like, and finally there's a female character. About time.
Yeah. she's not that great in it either. They don't give her much.
She just got that sort of familiar wants to be a vampire thing.
Yeah.
Which, that's a raw deal. Being a familiar.
Yeah.
Although, so I wrote down, though, my favorite line. I love the part where they're talking about why they eat virgins.
Yeah.
And Jermaine goes, if you're going to eat a sandwich, you'd enjoy it more if you knew no one had fucked it. It's like, I said that out loud as it happened, and my wife, who couldn't hear because I was watching it on the iPad with like headphones in, turns to me and goes, "What?" And I was like, "It's the movie."
You can't argue with it. I mean,
it's very true. I think I would enjoy most of my food more.
Oh God, it's so good.
God. Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that was improvised.
I'm sure a whole bunch of it. I'm sure a lot of it was improvised. I'm sure some of it more had to be planned because they had to do the vampire stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so the flying scenes and the bits where they do the real vampire-y things probably had to be planned out a little more than something like Best in Show.
Yeah.
But I think most of the dialogue, I love the bit too when the cops come and they're just walking around the house and they're just like, where's your smoke detectors, guys?
Yeah. Which I always forget what they're gonna do. Like when he's like, "What's that?" and he's like, "That bucket's too close to that like furnace, which is always flammable." And it's like, oh,
you got a bucket with a fire around a power source. Like,
yeah,
that's a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh, also, I never caught the joke at the end when like the guy is turning into a werewolf and he runs off. I'm like, oh, is that rabies? Like, as he's running,
yeah,
they're so bad.
Yeah, but Stu's getting transformed.
Yeah,
that lady cop. I was like, I want her in more stuff.
Yeah,
she's hysterical. And I don't know. I've like looked her up and it's like the only thing she's done is this and the New Zealand spinoff of this, called Wellington Paranormal. Those are the only two things I've ever seen that she's in.
That's weird.
I was like, man, she needs to be in everything because that's oh god, it's so funny.
It's really good.
Yeah,
I think that's about all I have on that.
That's all. That's about it. I'm trying to think.
Besides that, the movie sucks. So
yeah, besides everything in the movie is terrible.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. It's freaking hilarious. It was I think my favorite movie the year it came out.
Yeah.
That was my dog growling at Kirk's cat.
Oh man.
All right. And then we move on to movie number 4.
Oh, 4.
Okay, I got a confession to make.
Yeah.
I never actually seen Popstar until we did this, but I wanted to watch it, so I put it on the list.
I feel that.
Oh my gosh, I did not expect this one was so funny. And I wasn't ready for how funny it was going to be.
Oh, God.
The Popstar Never Stop Stoppin' is a mockumentary by The Lonely Island, which is Andy Samberg and his bandmates, about a Justin Bieber-esque musician pop star, basically, and how his new album launches and flops.
Yes.
And I've seen a ton of behind the music style documentaries, and this is so much like one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it doesn't have the same feel as the other 3 with that sort of raw found footage, shaky cam sort of thing, but it uses that to make it better, I think, than it would have been if it tried to do a standard doc.
There are moments though where it feels like they forgot the kind of movie they were making and they start just making a movie. That's probably my biggest complaint with it, but that's not till like later on in the movie.
Yeah. There's some it's partially a movie musical because The Lonely Island does a lot of original songs for it that, holy crap.
Yeah.
The Osama bin Laden song, I was like, this is so culturally insensitive and I'm dying.
Yeah.
Well, that one so hard.
And the one where I know it's probably a Macklemore like parody. It's like him singing about how he loves gay rights, but he keeps overly stating that he's not gay.
Yeah. No, you're harboring a fugitive that ass might be the best Lonely Island line since the Jack Sparrow song.
Yeah. And my favorite moment in this movie, I was gonna say, is when he does like the 3-minute song about how humble he is, and
Yeah,
then
Humble's great.
but then
Oh,
it goes
Humble's
to
fantastic.
Mariah Carey, and somehow they got to be like, that's like me.
Yeah.
She's the least like that in real life.
Just
Everyone
like,
says it.
I was thinking about this though, because I was looking, and when they do the bit with the catchphrase song, I was like, how much money
Yeah.
do you have to pay Ringo Starr to say "doink to doink" on
Yeah.
camera?
Did that dude do anything?
Like the amount of big name musicians and artists that they got in this movie just to do
Yeah.
those fake interviews is insane.
Yeah.
He had Mariah Carey. I think didn't they have DJ Khaled at one point?
Yeah, DJ Khaled.
They had Snoop Dogg show up. They had Ringo.
Justin Timberlake. As
Weird
not
Al's
Justin
in the
Timberlake.
movie. Yeah, Justin Timberlake. That bit where he's singing and they're like, "Dude, shut up, leave it to the professionals." He's like, "Sorry, sir."
Yeah, he starts cooking.
It's like, that's so good.
And a lot of SNL alumni.
A lot of SNL alumni. I love that Emma Stone is basically Lady Gaga in this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this, because I'm a big Weird Al fan. Conquest, his album, looks like Weird Al's Mandatory Fun album.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
If you look at the two of them together, it's the same, like them standing up and 100 of them in the background and the same kind of font.
Yeah. That's great.
And did you know there are more collaborations between Michael Bolton and Lonely Island than there have been between 90% of musicians in the world?
Yikes. Michael Bolton he just wants to have fun.
I think, you grow up in the 80s doing a bunch of sad power ballads, and then some guys like, let's utilize that.
Yeah. Seal is probably one of my favorite moments. That's because I love Seal.
Oh, Seal.
Also a wolf attack in this. He gets attacked by wolves.
How do you think I got these scars?
Yeah. Wolves? Oh, God.
Whoa, fucking wolves.
Also really love the monologue. I don't know. I don't know how long it took him to write it. The one where he's complaining to the apology where he's saying, he's like about how his friend didn't. I can't even explain it so hard.
The one where he's like, "Yeah, you wrote the thing, but I did part of the work. Okay, I didn't do any of the work. You did all of the work. Okay, fine. But I did."
Yeah.
I was like, "That's the other one."
Yeah, it took like 5 minutes.
God, that's an audition piece right there. Like that was probably one of the funniest monologues in the whole movie. And this movie did something none of the other mockumentaries. Yeah. No, that whole scene. This movie did something none of the other mockumentaries did, which is the birthday party videotape that he finds made me tear up a little bit. I was like, oh, he just wants to be with his friends and make music like when he was in the Style Boys.
Which the Style Boys, I don't know, that seems like the most 90s band. Like I've seen like 1,000 of the Style Boys.
Well, I'm sure it's a Beastie Boys, New Kids on the Block, inspired thing. I loved the blackout camera bee swarm scene where they're like, put the cameras away, and then they describe the bee attack and the flamethrower.
Yeah. Did you get that? You told me to turn it off. Yeah. And Andy Samberg, I mean, he is one of the funniest people right now, in my opinion.
He's so good. And this is the best thing I've seen him in is in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
I think this movie found a way, because I think the problem with a lot of SNL fueled movies is that they don't translate the skit to long form filmmaking well. They just, you can't take a joke that's good for 10 minutes of time doesn't work in 2 hours. Yeah. And they found a way to sort of use these little snippets of Connor's life to like throw in some of that.
Yeah. Which I know some of the jokes do go on a little long. There's a moment like where some of the songs were going near the end. I'm like, okay, I just want to get to the next part, but it's good.
There's some stuff. Yeah, there's some stuff that I'm like, all the stuff with Hunter in the middle, kind of gets lost. I think it goes on a little longer than it needed to.
Yeah,
but I think overall it's like a solid movie. And as far as a especially after, because I watched it after I watched all the rest of them, and I watched it right after comic books, so I was like, okay, like this did a solid job. And the Lonely Island, I mean, I think their stuff as a band, as a comedy band, is some of the funniest stuff, because they're just willing to take it to that level of like, we can be a little offensive.
Yeah. Although, oh shoot, what's his name? Oh no, I can't tell it if I can't remember the name of the guy.
Which one?
There's an interview. He's an old SNL alumni. He did Weekend Update for like 80s.
Oh goodness.
Comedian. It's oh my god.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
Anyways, he did, but when he was on a panel at like some Summer Music Awards, and Lonely Island comes on, and he makes them feel awkward, because he's like, you know what I call you guys? And like, what is it? Andy Samberg and the other two guys. And like, they just all sit there like, okay.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. It even feels this way in the movie.
Well, and that's what happened to them, is because they auditioned together for SNL, and Andy got on the show, and the other two got on the writing staff, and then they did all of the digital shorts with like Lazy Sunday and Dick in a Box, and
which without them, the digital shorts I don't think would be around anymore, because they made them funny.
They made them
funny before that.
Like you got to remember, Lazy Sunday was like the #1 video on the internet for like a year, pre-YouTube internet.
Yes,
people were finding this thing.
It's brilliant.
No, I think I agree with you. Like it has some moments where it doesn't quite go, and it does a thing a lot of modern comedies do, which they push jokes farther than they need to push them.
Yeah.
That's the thing with comedy. It's like, you have to know when to cut the comedy off, or you lose the impact, and the joke that was funny the first 2 times isn't funny the 6th, 7th, 8th time.
Yeah.
But it still has some real solid moments, and it had some really funny things. And I'm really glad we didn't watch Spinal Tap and this.
Yes.
Because I think that would have been like, it would have been given us an interesting comparison, but I think that this one is like the modern Spinal Tap.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Although I wish we saved the horror movie we watched on our first episode for this.
Oh yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, well, that's what when we were picking them, I was like, oh, I would have picked Behind the Mask, but we already watched it.
Yeah.
And I think that's better. Yeah, I think that one's better than this one and comic book are.
Yeah, I think it's right in the middle. That's what I was gonna say. It's 3 out of these 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mockumentaries are great. I had this idea for a mockumentary that I was thinking would be really funny. And if anybody from whatever company owns the actual movie this is going to be based on is listening, please hire me. You do The Purge, but it's like regular dudes. Did you see Tag when it came out? The one about the guys who, okay. So it's like that, but like that, they're like high school, college buddies, but their thing is every year they come back to town and they do The Purge, but they're not like murderers. They're like, we rob a grocery store, park illegally. Gosh. And it's like, they're just trying to see how many minor crimes they can get in the night.
Oh my gosh.
And then as the movie goes on, they stumble across the plot of the actual like first Purge movie.
Yeah.
And they're like in the background, like, oh my gosh, these people are like psychopaths, man. We got in the bad part of town.
Yeah. It's so great.
You know,
oh my gosh. Yeah, I would love that.
You just shoot it from that angle. And I was like, the only way you could sell that is to convince whoever made The Purge to like make fun of their own movie.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, it'd be hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That'd be really, I want to see that.
Right?
And it'd be so much, because I was going to actually say, I think the worst mockumentary movies, most of them are horror movies. The most bad movies are horror movies. I count Blair Witch as a mockumentary, and it's the worst movie like I know.
Yeah, there's an interesting, because mockumentary and found footage, they're a little different.
They're a little different, yeah.
Because mockumentary, like the talking heads are such a big part of it. of the interviewing the people and talking about like, yeah, we were at the tour and like, you know, this is what happened.
That's
and then you
true.
see it, and found footage is a little more like, I'm at a party with my phone out and I'm just filming all this crap.
That's right. Yeah, okay. That's the difference.
And mockumentary is really hard because it's such a dry humor, and it's such a, you have to find that balance between being subtle enough to feel like this could be a real person, but saying things and doing things that are funny enough to work.
Yeah.
And, you know, comedy's hard anyway. And so then horror comedy it's freaking tough.
Yeah.
Like being scary and funny at the same time. Good luck.
Not many.
Not many. No.
I don't know what else I have to say about these, but
I think they're all decent. Watch at least 3 of them.
Yes.
You can watch comic book if you want. I just know that it's not as good. Watch it first and then watch the other ones after, so you're not disappointed later on.
If you want to see all your favorite voice actors besides Tara Strong.
No, she's in it. She was the maid in like one scene.
She's in it?
Yeah, Tara Strong's in it for like 2 seconds.
Never mind. Watch it for that.
You want to see not Kevin Conroy, not
no.
I'm trying to think of who's not in the movie. Who's like a big Steve Bloom's not in the movie. Greg Griffin's not in the movie. There's a whole bunch. I can name a dozen people who aren't.
And a bunch of new guys who do video games now.
Jim Cummings doing a historian who sounds exactly like Winnie the Pooh's in the movie.
Yeah.
He's always Winnie the Pooh. He's every time I hear Jim Cummings, I'm like, that's Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Mockumentaries. They're fun.
They're fun.
I don't know what else to say about this. We're gonna probably, you know, like we always do, come up with the next topic. I think it's my turn to pick, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Did you want to do like the okay movie?
I do, but I don't know if I'm gonna do them yet. I think I'm gonna change to a different. Yeah, we're talking about doing the okayest movies that we don't love but we don't hate.
Which will be the hardest thing.
Or as I call them, movies that I don't want to rent, but I want to watch at a party where I have nothing else to do.
Yes.
That's Too Fast, Too Furious is probably one of the choices I would pick for that. Not the first one, the second one.
The second one. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll say Speed 2.
Speed 2.
There's a lot of second movies.
I don't think I've seen Speed 2. I definitely seen Speed. I haven't seen Speed 2.
It's on a boat.
Yeah, I get it's on a boat. It's Die Hard on a boat, also known as Speed on a boat, which is Die Hard on a bus. It's not really Die Hard. There's no terrorist on the bus. It's just that the bus has a bomb on it.
Yeah. Well, it's got, I guess, a terrorist somewhere.
He's there, but he's not on the bus.
He's not on the bus.
He's not on the bus. I don't know why I tried to "What's in the box" that line.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. All right, Nate, pick us a good sign-off line.
Oh God, sorry. What was that?
Find a quote.
I drink your milkshake.
All right. Have a good one, bud.
I'm gonna drink it.
Drink it up. See you later.